Yeah, dude, this is one of my favorite franchises, Superior Fence and Rail. So, um, usually, like when we have clients that are open or interested in service-based opportunities, like I will always almost do a check to see if this one's available. There's like some of those that is just like really, really good opportunities, and I want to see if it's available. It is also pretty well established, so it's kind of rare there's open markets. But Superior Fence and Rail, they're a fencing company. They do residential and commercial fencing, all different types of fencing. Vinyl, wood, gates, things like that. But they were started in 2001 in Orlando. They started franchising in 2017 and then just grew super fast. I think they sold over 100 units in 2024. So, and then they were acquired by Outdoor Living Brands parent company Empower Brands in 2021. So now they have, I think there's 74 franchise units open as of now. The total investment range for this one's between 130 and 206,000. So really not that bad. You could do like an SBA, seven or not 7-A, SBA express loan for this franchise opportunity, most likely. But why I like this one is they have different revenue streams. So what makes them different is they have a machine at their warehouse that prefabricates all the fencing products. And so most fencing companies of your competitors are going to order all the materials that are prefabricated, and it's very expensive for them to acquire those materials. Whereas in Superior, they do all their own prefabrication in-house. So it increases their margins significantly. They also end up doing the prefab and selling material to their competitors in their market. So that's a whole nother revenue stream that they can capitalize on.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I know they make a good amount of money through that revenue stream as well, because it just makes sense for those other local companies to buy from them than like the big suppliers. So yeah, really interesting. I mean, this is a pretty intensive like operations business. You need to be a true CEO because you're going to have salespeople that you're managing. You're going to have like production crews. You're probably going to have a production manager at some point that manages all those crews. But what I like about it is like they're high ticket prices and the installs take usually between 1 and 3 days, depending on the size of the project. So your margins are pretty sound on these projects. And then if you look at, if we can scroll, I kind of went out of order, sorry, but if you scroll back up to the item 19, really strong financial performance. So like you mentioned in the headline that the top unit's doing 9.46 million, which is crazy. But on average, among the franchises that are reported here, it's about 2.8 million in gross revenue. So really, really impressive, scalable franchise. One of my favorites. We had somebody in the Portland area buy 3 territories of this one, Portland, Oregon, late last year. So yeah, have you worked with this one before? Are you familiar with this one, Tariq?
Just from like just doing research on some of the different ones that I've made content on. But no, I that was a lot of that was new to me, that you just said live. So I think that's pretty cool that they do their own in-house prefab to increase margins. That's pretty cool. And then I was just seeing this, reading that they have a relationship with Home Depot, and they send them their leads for installations. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow, seems awesome. I think they got started in Florida or Orlando, where I'm at.
Yeah,
When I had looked through their FDD.
yeah, they're out of Orlando.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And again, this kind of takes back to, oh, that's right, you said it. So they started in 2001 and didn't start franchising until 16 years later. 16 years later. So I love some of those stories that just like they went out, mastered their business, mastered the craft. This isn't a business that just kind of threw it all together a year ago,
No.
just to franchise the business. Like they've got a solid track record, and I like those. again, I say it every week, my bias starts to show. I kind of like those bluer chip opportunities. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this particular niche in the home services space is interesting, because it is technical enough, and there is a big enough barrier to entry where not like every like chuck in a truck handyman is going to be doing fencing for the most part, or
Mm,
like installing gates. But at the same time, you don't need like somebody that's gone through, plumbing school, or is a master electrician that's gone through years of schooling. Is really expensive to pay those salaries. You can train people on how to do these fence installations, so I think it's a healthy balance between those two, which I love. And yeah, this would be one that like would be at the top of my list if I were to invest in a franchise for sure.
yeah, it's pretty cool. When you mention that, I feel like this is one of those industries that is still pretty what's the word, fragmented,
Hmm.
right? Where it's probably mostly mom and pop places, not a ton of franchise in the space. I think I've seen one or two pop up since they came out, um, but it's pretty fragmented, which usually is kind of ripe for disruption in the franchise space, which I think is pretty cool. And then for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, maybe in the newsletter, like Kevin and I have been talking about pretty much every week, is right now, part of the reason why I'm incredibly bullish on just home services overall or anything involving improvement is that people are not going to be selling their homes right now, or unless they really have to, because they want to stay locked into their low mortgages. And so, if someone, and usually a fencing job is not cheap, right? I mean, that's like you mentioned before, it's higher ticket, so it's usually something where if someone's like, okay, we're gonna stay in this house for a couple more years, so we might as well get that fence installed, like we wanted to do, but weren't going to do because our initial plans were we're going to sell and get a different house, but we're not going to do that now. So again, I'll bring it up every week as we talk about home services, but I think that's a huge opportunity there.
Yeah.
Cool. So for those of you who want to see if they're available in your area, you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. And you can check on any franchises available in your area. Be able to set up a quick 15-minute call with Kevin or Carista, who lead our brokerage team over here, and they'll be able to check on those things for you completely free. Super simple, super easy.